purpose, again, the purpose of CMMC was to allow the Defense Department to regulate the defense industrial base companies in order to better enforce them to follow the regulations, which have been in contracts for over 10 years now. You must implement NIST 800-171 security control practices. And so the CMMC is now mandatory. So the consequences of not obliging the requirements, or the consequences of failing to maintain the security posture over the period of the contract, is quite significant. You can have the contract taken away from you. You can be blacklisted, so you will never be able to bid on another contract again. And worse, if it's demonstrated that you have falsely claimed that you are meeting the requirements over the period of the contract, the government can sue you. And last year, the government sued well over a dozen companies into the tune of $40 or $50 million. And so it's not uncommon for an organization that's really trying to run fast and loose for the CIO to become a whistleblower and report that company. And when we're talking large amounts of money, tens of millions or hundreds of millions of dollars, the reward to a whistleblower for reporting a company, and when that company gets sued and fined, that whistleblower will receive between 1% to 2% of the total amount of money. So I just saw recently a report from 2025, June 2025, that a company was fined I think it was $10 million, and the whistleblower got $1.9 million. That's a nice retirement package if you can get it, right? So the company, if you're an executive of a company, you have a fiduciary responsibility, legal responsibility, a financial responsibility to make sure that the company is following the rules. Because you never know who's going to reveal that you're not following the rules. So the way I did a lot of disaster recovery and business continuity in my day. And what I used to explain to people all the time is when they'd come into my classroom, or when I'd meet with a client that reluctantly, said, okay, we'll pay for a disaster recovery plan and a business continuity plan. The first thing I'd say to them is, why are you here? Like, nobody wants to do this. It's not going to generate revenue, and you hope to never have to use it, right? Nobody wants to go through a disaster. But if you do have a disaster and you have a disaster recovery plan, your chances of surviving are much, much higher. Well, it's the same thing with security. Nobody wants to pay for the security. But when your picture's in the front page and they're saying organization suffers data breach, all customer data lost, and we ask the CEO, and the CEO's picture's on the front page of the newspaper, what's the consequences? That company could be shut down, and every job that company now produces could be lost. So the consequences are quite significant. Now, let me raise it up a degree for you, okay? If the sensitive information that company is working with gets into the hands of the enemy now has an advantage. So if you ever want to really learn about how important this is, what we're doing with CMMC, just talk to a veteran that fought in Afghanistan or fought in Iran or fought in one of the, battles. They want every advantage they can get. And if we lose this sensitive information and the enemy has an advantage, that puts the lives of men and women in the military at risk. We have a responsibility to protect that information, and that's what CMMC is all about.